welcome back St. Jude for our second video here in this series, Mystagogy, where we're leading ourselves into the mystery. And just to recap what we talked about last time, St. Ignatius of Loyola experienced something similar to what we're experiencing now, where he was separated from all that was familiar, and he was in this battle between worldliness, which brought him stress, and faith, which brought him peace. And we know that the heart of our faith is the Eucharist and the Mass. So what do we do when that's not an option? We're still called to keep holy the Lord's Day. We're still called to come together for worship, for which we were made. But it's going to look a little bit different right now. And so last weekend in the bulletin, I threw together a number of points. Maybe it was 2 weekends ago. Of points of how we can celebrate the Lord's Day in our own homes. So the first of those would be to remember that it is the Lord's Day. And so it wouldn't hurt to throw on our Sunday best, to get the kids ready and act like we're about to load up the car. We're on our schedule. You're on your schedule. So if it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit longer. You don't have to have the fighting to get there on time. Might be one perk. But if we begin to dress the part, we'll begin to treat it as a day different than the other days. As a day where we remember the Lord's rising on the third day, his victory that he won for us, which is okay to do even during Lent. Second one would be to give the kids a challenge. To find a space where we're going to watch the liturgy in our own homes and to have them make it into a sacred space. Maybe get a tablecloth or a sheet to cover a folding table or to cover the TV table. Maybe throw on a Bible, some candles if you have some, a rosary, whatever you might have. You could even put a few religious objects there on the altar. Let each kid pick their own. You might end up with a G.I. Joe, but I don't even know if they actually use those anymore. You might end up with something not sacred, but God wants everything. He wants our humanity as well. And so we place ourselves there on that altar and give it to him. And then it's time for the Mass. And we're in uncharted territory. So there are absolutely no rules governing how you do this. These are just recommendations that I thought of. And so what might be worthwhile is to have your own liturgy of the word. To let the kids be the lectors. To let mom or dad read the gospel. To just put the video on pause and do the liturgy of the word yourself. There's no rules. That's okay. And then there's going to be the homily. So you can tune back in for that. We'll keep it short just for you. Actually, make it a little bit longer. You have nothing else to do. And so we're going to have the homily. But after the homily comes the creed. After the creed, the prayers of the faithful. And this would be another time that it would be worthwhile to press the pause button. To go around the room and allow everyone to add in their own petitions. To pray for grandma and grandpa who you haven't been able to see. To pray for the neighbor who might not be able to go out and get groceries. To begin to pray for the people that we care about, the healthcare workers, those on the front lines, allowing our hearts to enter into that prayer. And it wouldn't be a bad thing as the Mass continues on to follow along with the gestures, to stand up, to sit down. You don't have to. Again, there are no rules. But what's important about this time is allowing our hearts to enter more fully into the liturgy. To allow our hearts to enter more fully into the very life of the church. Because it's easy when we're here at the church building to race in, to allow our thoughts to wander, to think about what's coming next. But at home, slow it down. Put everything aside Now, the dog might bark and need to be let out, but you can put it on pause. The kids might start acting crazy, but you can put it on pause and rope them back in. And fully prepare yourself to enter in, to listen closely to the words of the Mass, which recount all of God's great works through time. And by giving ourselves fully to God, we'll realize that He's right there, doing even more for us. Because He empties Himself out constantly. He shares His love with us fully. And it's by entering into that we're able to be drawn up into His grace, drawn up into His love. And it's there that we get to experience that peace that we so desperately long for and we so desperately await.